Does anybody else in your immediate family have diarrhea?
Oh dear, my small business owning friend. You never grow good business with bad website.
You open the door and immediately you're hit with a smell that makes your nose hairs curl. You already know what's about to happen, but you can't stop it. So you step into the bathroom, scan it to see which stall is safest to use, but newsflash, none of them are. So you go into the one that looks the least like it will give you an incurable disease and wish for the best. That was every single school bathroom trip. And because my schools growing up had literally no rules besides just don't bother the teachers while they're on their lunch break, I have a lot of stories about my experiences with this place. But before I get into these stories that are literally giving me PTSD just to think about, there are some universal things that every school bathroom had that I gotta talk about. First off, the walls were always covered in writing. It looked like graffiti, but instead of just putting some cool design like people do on the side of a freeway, it would have something written on it like who has more aura, and then it would have the name Diddy on one side and LeBron on the other, and you see a bunch of tallies under each name. There was one time where I went into the bathroom and someone wrote on the wall, "How are you doing?" But the next day when I went in, right under that message it said, "Good, how are you?" Then the next day it said under that message, "I'm good, thanks for asking." And the next day under that message it said,
"I'm gonna touch you."
That was where the conversation ended. There was no rules for what could be written on that wall. Someone put a phone number on it one time that said, "Call me," and I thought it was funny. So I typed the number into my phone, but when it started ringing, I realized it was my number! Who wrote that on the wall? I never found out, but it just shows what type of things happen in there. And every single bathroom was disgusting. So of course, you always wanted to make sure you washed your hands after finishing. The only problem was the paper towel dispenser was either empty or jammed, or you had quite literally the worst air drying system ever. You'd press the button and the machine would shoot out less air than my farts do. The soap was always that thin pink liquid that somehow made your hands feel even more dirty than before you washed them. The mirror always had a smudge that had clearly been there since the building was built. Sometimes it even had pee on it.
I really hope that part wasn't just my school.
But here's the crazy part. With all of that, the smell, the wet floor, the graffiti, this bathroom was somehow the most eventful place in the entire school. More things happened in this room than any other room in school. The bathroom was where everything went down every single day, and it had nothing to do with actually using the bathroom, which is exactly where this story starts. Now, unfortunately, as we all know, school toilet paper, if you could even call it actual toilet paper, was thinner than my bank account after spending all my money on pictures of LeBron in a maid dress. Like if you held up a piece of that toilet paper, you could see your hand on the other side. It was translucent. Yeah, bet you didn't expect me to say a word that big, huh? I actually know a lot of big words because I'm very smart, like vasectomy, circumcision? I just Googled those last two, so I don't actually know what they mean. But anyways, school toilet paper was somehow both rough and weak at the same time. Like it would scratch you when using it to wipe, but also dissolve on contact. It was engineered specifically to be as useless as possible. So one day, I'm in school and I always had to go to the bathroom the same time every day. My body was on a consistent clock and it always had to go during third period. But this day was worse because I had to go number 2. Now let's make something very clear. I did everything in my power to not go number 2 in the restroom. I was clenching my cheeks for an hour, but then I felt a fart coming that I realized was definitely not just a fart. And I knew if I didn't use the bathroom, fourth period would come and my leg would suddenly have a brown streak going down it. So I tapped my teacher on the shoulder and say,
"Hey, I need to go to the bathroom for a while. I promise I'm not trying to skip school, but if you don't let me go, it will smell like a baby's diaper inside this classroom."
So she lets me go and I arrive at the bathroom. I pick the least horrible stall, then I wipe the toilet down about 40 times and do my business. I don't know if this is TMI, but I felt like I was fighting in World War II trying to get this log out. Anyways, eventually it's time to wipe. So I reach for the toilet paper roll, but there's a problem. There's maybe 1.5 rotations left on it. So I start pulling slowly, gently, knowing I have to use every single piece I have left perfectly. But what happens when I try pulling? It tears immediately. Of course it does. I look at what I have in my hand, which is about this much, and I do the calculation to see if I'm gonna be able to do this. The calculation is not in my favor. So I use the one piece of toilet paper I have left and hope that I get a ghost wipe and I can just leave the bathroom. But of course I didn't. Once the last piece was all used up, I still had a lot of work to do. Now let me ask you, what would you do in this situation? This isn't a rhetorical question either. Like, actually comment what you would do because I'm still not sure if I made the right decision. But what happened next is something I really hope no one watching this ever has to go through, because I made sure the coast was clear. Then I opened the door to my stall, crab walked to the next stall, took the roll from that one, and went back to my stall as quickly as possible. If someone had walked into the bathroom in this moment, I'm pretty sure I would have been either expelled for public indecency or screenshotted and had pictures taken of me that would still be on the internet. as quickly as possible. If someone had walked into the bathroom in this moment, I'm pretty sure I would have been either expelled for public indecency or screenshotted and had pictures taken to me that would still be on the internet